Hi everybody, welcome back. My name's Katie for those of you that weren't here last week. So this week I'm going to be making chickpea tacos, and I'm using some ingredients that came in the CSA box from Oahu Fresh. So this box came with kale and pineapple and tomatoes and cucumbers. And so I was coming up with ideas all weekend of kind of how to incorporate all of those ingredients. And tacos came to mind. So the tacos today are gonna have 4 different elements. We're actually gonna do a homemade tortilla, super easy. I'll walk you through how to make that. And then the filling, instead of using meat, we're gonna use chickpeas. And then on top of that, there's gonna be a kale coleslaw, and then a grilled pineapple salsa. So it's gonna be super fresh, super hearty, and really tasty. So let's get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is make the tortillas. And I've been making tortillas for a while now. However, I usually just use regular all-purpose flour, but I kind of experimented with some whole wheat pastry flour too, just to make it a little healthier, has a little bit more fiber in it. So to start the tortillas, we're gonna do whole wheat pastry flour, and I'll post all the recipes for this with all it into a bowl here. All-purpose flour. Now I'm doing equal parts of whole wheat pastry and all-purpose, but if you want to kind of up the whole wheat pastry, you could definitely do that and just add less of the all-purpose. But I find doing a mix of this still gives it a nice taste and texture. Next ingredient is a little bit more than 3/4 cup of water. And this water is pretty hot, not boiling, but you definitely want it to be pretty warm. So we're gonna do water, and then just a little bit of oil and some salt. So I'm just gonna mix this together. I'll show you what it looks like. So it will come together pretty quickly, and it's gonna look sticky. It's gonna look a little bit sticky. If it's really, really sticky, go ahead and add a little bit more flour. But you do want the dough to not be super tough. So as soon as the dough kind of starts to come together, you can ditch the wooden spoon. Now you can either keep it in the bowl or roll it out onto your surface. I don't really want to get this all dirty right now, so I'm just going to do it in the bowl. But we're just going to basically knead this for a couple minutes, and that's going to develop the gluten in the tortillas. So to do that, actually, you know what? I will do it this one. This one. Just so you can see a little better. So there's my dough. It's just together in a big blob like this. So to knead it, you're basically gonna start at one end, and you're gonna pull the dough over itself, kind of folding it in half, and then using your wrist here, the palm of your hand, you're gonna just push it away. So you're just gonna fold it over itself and push it away. And this is gonna develop the gluten and really give the tortillas a nice taste and texture. So it's looking a little sticky right now. I'm just gonna keep working it through. And this is gonna take anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes. You'll know when it's done when the dough starts to kind of spring back at you, and it's really smooth. So this is looking a little bit sticky right now. I'm just gonna grab a little bit more flour. Just so it doesn't stick on the cutting board. And I'm using half all-purpose flour, and I'm using whole wheat pastry flour, which is just a little bit finer than regular whole wheat. But I just got that I think I got that at Whole Foods. Okay, so it is coming together a little bit more now. I think that like when making a taco night, using homemade tortillas really, really, really makes it. They're so good. And you can have the most simple filling, but there's just something about a nice, warm, fresh tortilla that is so delicious. Okay, so there's just a couple more times here. And you can see this dough, when you touch it, it's starting to spring back a little bit. So just a couple more times of this. Nice little arm workout. All right, so this dough is about done. It's nice and soft, a little sticky still, but that's okay. So now that we have this ball, kind of depends on how big you want your tortillas to be, but I usually give it kind of like the size of my palm, like this. And so I'll just roll these up into separate little balls, and then you can put it back in the bowl that you were using, and you want to rest this dough anywhere from like 15 to 30 minutes. The longer that you let it rest, the better texture that the tortilla is going to have. So while you're making all the other things, you can just set this aside and cover it with a wet cloth just so the tortillas don't get too firm on the outside. All right, the next part of the tacos is going to be the grilled pineapple salsa. So the pineapple came in the CSA box. I'm just going to take a little grill pan. You can use any kind of grill it. I kind of just like the char that these lines give the pineapple. So I'm going to heat this over high heat. And I'm just going to very, very lightly oil this pan just so the pineapple doesn't stick. If you have the oil spray, that works great. I don't, so I'm just taking a little bit of olive oil on a paper towel, just a little bit to the pan. Okay, perfect. So that's just gonna. So I have my pineapple here. This is the one that came in the CSA box. It's the Maui gold ones. They're so sweet. Okay. I'm just gonna do a few slices of pineapple. I would say about a ½ inch thick, about like this. Do a few slices of these. Wait for this to heat up a little bit. It's really important to have your pan nice and hot and preheated whenever you're making something, just so it cooks evenly and you get that nice char, especially on the pineapple. I'm just gonna set these on here. You can hear that sizzle. It's a good sign. All right, so this is gonna take probably about 3 to 4 minutes on each side, just kind of depending on how thick you cut your pineapple. In the meantime, we'll start the rest of our salsa. So I'm also adding tomatoes that came in the CSA box. I'm gonna do red onion. I really like red onion for this, but if you only have white or yellow onions, go ahead and use those too. Gonna do a little bit of jalapeno. I'm only using like a teaspoon because I can't handle a lot of heat, but if you do like things a little spicier, go ahead and add more of that. So pineapple, going. So we're also gonna add a little bit of lime juice to the salsa, as well as cilantro. I'm just gonna season it with a little bit of salt, pepper, and a little garlic today, because that's what I like in my salsa. But you can go ahead and leave the salt out, add a ton of cilantro, whatever your preference is. I'm gonna use like a nice big handful of cilantro. And we're just gonna give this a nice rough chop. You can already smell the pineapple grilling. It's so fragrant. So I'm gonna just put the cilantro in here as well. Check on the pineapple. Starting to get some nice grill marks. Gonna let that go a little bit longer. I'll go ahead and give these guys a little flip. I guess we can start on a little bit of the next part now, just to have something to do right now. So the next part of the tacos is gonna be the kale coleslaw. I know kale can be a little bit of intimidating vegetable to use, but I have a couple of tricks that are gonna help it taste a lot better than just eating big bunches of leaves. So I'm gonna use about 2 of these leaves here. And the way I kind of separate the leaf from the stalk is just by taking my fingers, pushing up through the stem. This will release the leaves. So you can kind of see that it comes right off there. So I'm gonna use 2 of these. And I'll post the recipes, but you can obviously double if you're making for more people. I'm just getting for myself and maybe my roommates if they want some, so I'm not going to use a ton. And then I'm going to kind of layer these leaves on top of each other with this. Since I'm making a coleslaw, I kind of want to create long strips or ribbons. So I'm rolling up this kale kind of as tight as it'll go. Take my knife and just really thinly slice, starting at the right end. I'm just gonna go all the way down, really thin. And you can see when you unravel it, it kind of creates long strips like this. It's exactly what you want. So we'll add this to a bowl. Check on my pineapple again. I'm just gonna give it one more flip because I didn't get that char I wanted the first time. But you can see now, nice grill marks going. These are just gonna take like 2 more minutes. Okay, so next part for the kale slaw, and this is definitely the most important part, is we're gonna massage the kale actually. And this is gonna break down the leaf and break down the fibers in the kale. And not only is it gonna make it more pleasant to eat, but it's actually easier on the digestion too. But kale is actually a great ingredient for this coleslaw because it's nice and hearty, really firm. We're gonna put some cabbage in there and some carrots too. I'll wash this lemon really quick. Just roll out the lemon to release the juice. I'm gonna use, this is about a cup of kale. I'm gonna use half a lemon. Just squeeze this over. And then, yeah, you just kind of get in there and massage it. And you're gonna see it start to turn way darker within like 15 seconds. But you should do this probably for about 30 seconds to a minute. And yeah, it just makes it easier to eat. just like this. This is a great technique too if you want to have a kale salad. It really decreases the size too, so you're eating a lot of it, and it just really becomes a great texture. And I think kale has a lot of flavor too. You know, if you have like iceberg lettuce or romaine, which is fine too, but I think kale just has like a really great earthy texture to it. So the pineapple should be done now. Let's check on this. Oh yeah, it's perfect. This is the pineapple. Nice grill marks. I'm just gonna let this hang out for a second and cool down, and we can do the rest of the coleslaw. So next part is gonna be the cabbage. I'm using green cabbage today because that's all they had at the grocery store, but red cabbage works too. Even like radicchio or any other kind of tough leaf like this. So just gonna cut off a nice piece here. And we're gonna do the same kind of cut with the kale, so you wanna have really nice long strips. Let's just start at the end here. And just try to get it pretty thin, just so it fits in your taco. Once again, just really nice long strips like this. I'm gonna put this in here too. And then next ingredient is gonna be carrots. So I have one kind of small carrot like this. We're just gonna do nice long ribbons with a, what is this called? Because I can't remember the name of this right now, but we're just gonna also do nice long ribbons with this. All right, so just as much as you can get. I'm just gonna leave that off to the side here. And these are kind of long. I'm just gonna cut them once in half so that we also have shorter ribbons too. So those are the 3 ingredients we're gonna put in the coleslaw. And now we're just gonna lightly dress this. So we already have the lemon juice on there. I just want a little bit more of acidity, so I'm gonna do a little red wine vinegar. A little bit of mayo. A little bit of salt, and some fresh cracked pepper. Just gonna give this a quick little mix. This is what it looks like after. Slightly creamy, got the kale in there, all massaged, really nice texture. It's gonna be really, really good on top of the tacos. Okay, so we'll set that aside for a second and finish the salsa. So this pineapple has had a chance to cool, and we are gonna give this a small dice too. Oh, it's so juicy and so charred on the outside. I just think the taste of pineapple, once it's cooked, it kind of releases all those juices, and it's really, really, really sweet. It kind of caramelizes on the outside. But yeah, if you want to throw it in the boiler for a few minutes too, I'm sure that would work. So here's the pineapple, and this is the rest of the salsa ingredients. So I have the red onion, the tomatoes, the cilantro, and the jalapeno. Just gonna add the pineapple into here now. All right, next I'm gonna add some lime juice, and I always use fresh lime juice, but I was at the store and they were all out of limes. So I just bought the pre-packaged, just the squeezed fresh lime juice. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of this in here, and a little sprinkle of salt, some fresh pepper. I'm also going to add a little bit of, these are just garlic flakes if you have garlic powder too. Just to give it a nice little garlicky taste too. Okay, I'm going to mix this up. So pretty. You guys can see that. Beautiful colors. It's gonna be so good. All right, so that's the salsa. This is a really, even though there's like 4 different elements to this recipe, I think separately, they're all really simple. Not a lot of hard techniques too. The next thing we're gonna do is the filling. So I'm using chickpeas, and I just use canned chickpeas. I already rinsed them off. I buy the one that has no added salt because I like to add the salt that I want to add, and I don't want it already. But if you can only find the regular one, then just give it a good rinse to get all that salt off. So I just have it in a bowl here. You can use a fork too, but I have like a potato masher, and I'm just gonna mash these chickpeas. I'm not gonna mash all of them. I would say maybe leave like 25% of the chickpeas whole, but once again, gives the filling a nice texture. While I do that, I'm gonna preheat this pan over medium-high heat. I would say for this taco too, with just like the seasonings I'm using, you could definitely use tofu or tempeh instead. Or, you know, you could use the Gardein, beefless grounds, or any kind of those alternative meats. I think the most important part is just the Mexican seasonings in this. So I'm just mashing these up, and you can kind of see, it takes a second, but I'm gonna just do it a little bit more than this. All right, that looks good. Pan is gonna heat up. Gonna add just a tad of olive oil to this pan. Wait for that to heat up. So you can go ahead and use, if you can find like a low sodium taco seasoning mix. I like got this one from Costco. It's huge, but I'm gonna just do separate, like individual spices today, and I'm gonna use cumin, paprika, chili powder, and then oregano, garlic, and onion, and then a little salt and pepper too. But I would say if you don't have the taco seasoning pre-mixed container, or if you don't have all of these, I would say in order of importance, cumin is probably the most important, and then, you know, if you don't have either chili powder or paprika, you only have like cayenne instead, you know, go ahead and use that. But you can kind of play around with the seasonings here, but I definitely, so that's probably the most important seasoning to have today. So this is just heating up. Let me kind of spread it around a little bit. This filling too could not be easier. It's literally just chickpeas and seasoning, and we're gonna add a little bit of lime juice. Super easy. So that's going. So we're just gonna go ahead and add the chickpeas in here now. Again, you'll hear that nice sizzle. All right, and then just immediately start to move it around. Then we'll add our seasoning. So cumin, Once again, I'll post the ingredients for this, but I am using just about a teaspoon of each. This is paprika. And then oregano. Some garlic. And onion powder. Tad bit of salt. Lots of fresh cracked pepper. All right, we're just gonna go ahead and mix this up to combine. But I'm gonna move it around pretty frequently just so nothing gets stuck on the bottom of the pan. But after all those seasonings are in there, I'm gonna add a little bit of lime juice. Again, fresh would be best, but this is all I have. Just a nice little splash. It's gonna give it some good acidity. Mix this up. And since the chickpeas are already cooked, basically all we're doing is combining the spices and cooking the spices with it a little bit. So you really don't need to cook this too long. All right, this is about good here. And if you notice that there's maybe your filling is a little bit too incorporated with whole chickpeas, you can just take your spatula, because at this point the chickpeas are going to be nice and tender, and you can kind of just smash them along the pan here too, just to kind of break them up a little bit more. I do like having a little bit of whole chickpeas still in that filling, but you can see right here, just keeping a couple whole. All right, so the filling is good. So the last part is just making the homemade tortillas. Now this part's really fun. I actually have another batch that's been resting for a while, so I'll use that for that. And I've just been letting them sit in this bowl with a wet cloth over it. This is what they're gonna look like after they rest. They're really nice and soft. I have a tortilla press because I make tortillas a bunch, but if you don't, no worries. You can go ahead and just roll them out like you would with a rolling pin or any kind of cup or wine bottle that you have. That'll work just fine. But I do have a tortilla press. This tool is really nice and handy. It really helps get a super, super thin tortilla. If you are rolling it out, I would say try to get it as thin as you can without tearing the dough. So I'm using a cast iron. You can go ahead again and use any pan for this, but your cast iron is not going to be oiled or anything, or any pan that you use, you want to just have it be just a flat surface, no oil. You're going to just do a dry kind of sear on these tortillas. So you will take each piece of dough here, and this is the tortilla press I have. I got it on Amazon. And I have lined each side with a piece of parchment paper, and this is going to prevent it from sticking. So I'll just kind of form my dough again into a nice ball, and I will place it in the center of the side closest to me, and then you just close the top part and press down. It's that easy. Give it a nice solid press. All right, and then you have a beautiful tortilla. There we go. Just gonna wait for the pan to heat up a little bit more, and I'm gonna work on pressing the rest of these out. Okay, so the pan's pretty hot. I'm just gonna drop this tortilla right in. Generally, it only takes like 15 to 20 seconds per side to cook the tortilla. Okay, so we're gonna check this. Perfect. So you're just gonna flip it over. It should be nice and brown in certain spots on here. Yeah, that'll just go for another, I don't know, 15 seconds. Beautiful tortilla. They're so much fun to make. Alright, so these are done. I'm actually, okay, while I make the rest of them, I'm also gonna keep these in a damp tortilla. This is just gonna keep them from drying out. You can also store homemade tortillas and heat them up in the oven a little bit if you wanna use them a different way, but fresh is best. You can see a nice char on this here. I'm just gonna put this down here and do the rest. If your pan starts to smoke, it's a little bit too hot. Just gonna turn that on hot. Do the flip. It only takes about 15 seconds. It's super quick. Nice and charred on the bottom. These are almost done. You can do one more. I found this. It's a taco holder. So I thought I'd use this today. Okay, last tortilla is done. Totally possible to do it. Alright, let's make our tacos. So I'm just gonna fill these. Oh, they're so perfect. Look at how cute. Okay. So on the bottom, we're gonna do a couple chickpea mixture. Like that, and then we'll do a little bit of the Kale Slaw, each one. So just right on top. And then last step is going to be the grilled pineapple salsa. Just do a little bit of that too. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. All these things together, the pineapple with the chickpeas and the seasoning. And it's so hearty too. It's essentially a salad on top of a tortilla. I would go as far as to say. I don't want a lot of this stuff. All right, so there I have my tacos. So on the very bottom, the chickpea filling, and then we have the kale and carrot coleslaw, and then on top, the grilled pineapple salsa. I guess I'll give one of these a try now. Oh my gosh, this one makes me good. Seriously, my favorite part. Oh, so good. They're really filling, super healthy. I have tacos like at least once a week. I think it's just a great staple to have in your house. Endless fillings, endless toppings, but
yeah, I think that's going to be our video for today.